One small step, how Julie reclaimed her life with Kaizen. I didn't want Julie to walk out of that room carrying more guilt than she already brought in. She didn't need another lecture. She didn't need a to-do list that would gather dust in her kitchen drawer or weigh on her like one more failure waiting to happen. What she needed was hope. And a way forward so small, so doable, that it could sneak past the fear and overwhelm that had built walls around her. So I asked her one simple question. Julie, do you think, while you're watching TV at night, you could just march in place for 1 minute? She blinked. Then half smiled. 1 minute? Just 60 seconds, I said. No equipment. No special clothes. Just you, and your couch, and your favorite show. That's it. There was a pause. Then she nodded. Yeah. I guess I could do that. And that was it. No big plans. No gym memberships. Just one small step. That night, she marched in place for 1 minute. The next night, she did it again. Within a week, she was doing 2 minutes. After a month, 5. And after 6 weeks, she told me she had started walking outside while the kids were at school. Not far. Just around the block. But it made her feel strong. Like she was doing something. Like she was becoming someone new. That's the magic of Kaizen. Chapter 2, The Brain That Whispers No. See, when we try to make big changes, go to the gym 5 times a week, cut out all sugar, quit a job, launch a business, our brains panic. It sees the change as a threat. The amygdala lights up. Stress hormones flood our system. And before we know it, we're sabotaging ourselves, not because we're lazy, but because our biology wants to keep us safe. Safe equals familiar. Even if familiar means miserable. But Kaizen, small steps, is like a whisper. It doesn't alert the fear centers of your brain. It slips through the cracks of resistance. A 1-minute walk doesn't terrify your nervous system. It doesn't scream danger. And so, your mind lets it in. And once it's in, that little change, like a seed, starts to grow. That's why the Japanese built empires on this principle. And that's why Julie, just like thousands of others, found her way back to herself. Chapter 3, What does one step look like? Maybe for you, it's not marching during your show. Maybe it's writing 1 sentence a night in the novel you never started. Maybe it's drinking 1 more glass of water a day. Maybe it's sitting in silence for 30 seconds before you check your phone in the morning. These aren't heroic moves. They're not sexy. You won't get standing ovations or likes or applause. But over time, they change your identity. You go from someone who wants to change, to someone who is changing. And you do it without punishment. Without overwhelm. Without shame. Just small steps. Chapter 4, Julie's Life, 1 year later. Julie didn't become a marathon runner. She didn't get 6-pack abs or go viral on Instagram. But a year later, she was sleeping better. Mark was 34. Recently divorced. Laid off from a job he once loved. The kind of guy who used to show up early, bring coffee for his coworkers, and dream of opening his own creative agency. Now? He didn't leave his bed. His blinds stayed closed for weeks. His phone piled up with messages he couldn't open. The shame of his stuckness was louder than any alarm clock. He stopped answering friends. Stopped showering. Stopped hoping. One day, after watching 7 hours of YouTube in bed, he stumbled on a video about Kaizen. It talked about doing the smallest possible action, even if it felt meaningless, every day. Can't get out of bed? Just sit up. That's it. Tomorrow, sit up and put your feet on the floor. The day after, walk to the bathroom. 1 step. 1 day. 1 win. Mark thought it was ridiculous. What was sitting up going to solve? How was putting his feet on the cold hardwood floor going to fix the hole in his life? But something inside him whispered. You've already tried doing nothing. Try something, anything, else. So the next morning, for the first time in 3 weeks, he sat up. His body creaked like a rusty door. But he did it. No fireworks. No angels singing. No Hollywood transformation. Just him, sitting up. Breathing. The next day, he stood up. Just for 10 seconds. And the day after that, he walked to the bathroom. By the end of the week, he was brushing his teeth again. By the end of 2 weeks, he was walking outside for 1 minute a day. Just one. He didn't go viral. He didn't glow. By the end of the second week, Mark was doing something he never imagined possible. He was leaving his apartment every morning. Not for long, a single block, at first, but each day he stretched that boundary. The world smelled sharper, the air felt cooler, and his chest didn't tighten quite so much. One morning, as he trudged toward the corner shop, he realized he'd been carrying nearly 30 extra pounds of shame and self-loathing. He paused, put a finger to his lips, and whispered to himself. One small step, Mark. That's all it ever was. He bought a bottle of water, drank half of it, then poured the rest on a wilting pothose plant by his door. It seemed like 2 separate actions, but to Mark it felt like reclaiming both his body and his home. Over the next month, he used Kaizen to rebuild. Week 3, 2-minute walks, 5 squats by his bed, 1 phone call to a friend. Week 4, 10-minute journaling, leaving his blinds open, 1 page of a self-help book. Small acts, stacked one after another, formed a routine that his old self would have scoffed at, but his new self craved. Chapter 8, The Ripple of Quiet Change. By now, Julie's 1-minute marches and Mark's tiny walks had formed an invisible current. Their friends, family, even strangers noticed. Julie's daughter asked to join her in those evening marches. Mark's neighbor waved from his own front stoop. Their small steps became invitations for others to try tiny actions of their own. When we change in even the smallest way, we send a message. If I can do this, you can do that. A coworker started packing a healthy snack. A colleague began a 1-minute mindfulness break at 3 p.m. A sister replaced one negative text with a grateful emoji. This is the ripple effect of Kaizen, quiet, patient, unstoppable. Chapter 9, Designing Your Own Kaizen Kit. You've heard Julie's 1-minute march. You've walked beside Mark around the block. Now it's your turn. Choose one microaction you can do today, no matter how small. Do it consistently, every day at roughly the same time. Celebrate immediately, fist bump, note in your journal, quiet smile. Add another microaction once your first feels effortless. Your Kaizen kit might include standing for 1 minute while your coffee brews. Writing 1 sentence in that half-finished idea. Smiling at yourself in the mirror each morning. Final reflection. Change doesn't require giant leaps. It demands gentle persistence. When you patch together 1% better every day, you become 37 times better in a year, by the power of compound growth. So, what's your one small step? Start today. Don't wait for motivation. Show yourself the kindness you offer others. Let your tiny victories build a life you love. Welcome to Kaizen. One small step at a time.